would you want to do different? In that space of assessing it, there's no levels. It's just ideas and thoughts and ways to do it better. It keeps the emotion out of it and allows you to focus on, the task at hand. How do we do to go get it better in the process? You've heard so much over the last year and a half about the Commander's Standard, and much of that was born from a idea of a Navy SEAL ethos or a Ranger's creed, and we never compare what we do to what they do, but does remind me, recalibrate and get back to our standards. So I thought I just wanted to share the military with you today and how pumped I am to have them here, and glad to get rocking with you guys.
Can you first update on the injuries, the guys who weren't able to go, and then anybody from the game who left with anything?
Yeah, so I'll have a better update for you Tuesday on some of the injuries as we'll get through it. The players that didn't travel to the game all were here and did rehab things, and like I said, by Tuesday I think I'll have a better sense for what the next block looks like for them. We have an important couple days here with Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and then we kind of get into the next block for Cincinnati. One thing I can say is that Lucas Niang did tear his ACL, so bummer on that part. I wanted to give you that update. He had really done a nice job for us in a short time, so we're really bummed for him, at offensive line to come in and learn it and being ready to go play. It sucks in this chapter, but there's a lot more for him out there, but wanted to acknowledge that today.
And then you talked about your frustration after the game and not the Sanders. How do you then get the message across during practices, and what's your approach with that?
Yeah, fortunately, there's a process really that we go through when it goes well and when it doesn't, like on Friday, and we call it Tell the Truth Monday. It happened to be on a Sunday for us, but these are the things that, we saw in the game. These are the things we want to identify. It helps. Then you can say, this are the things that we want to work on this week as players and as coaches. Then you flush it to say, okay, talk about it, identify it, and you work from there. So we did that today, and then this afternoon is kind of on to the things we want to improve upon. A lot of new commanders in their first one. Some hit the standard, some didn't, and that's the good part about Tell the Truth Monday. You point it all out. All right, you guys have a good day. There we go.
How do you feel about your team's depth just coming out of that game? I mean, were there any concerns there?
At certain ones, Nikki, I feel like, man, there's really, strong ones. And that sometimes happens. I see that at running back and at tight end, defensive line. And then there's others, okay, keep digging. In fact, we have a workout later on this afternoon, post-practice and, to continue to look at some guys. And one thing I've come to really appreciate about Adam and his staff is, like, there's a chance to get better. We're going to dig in and find ways to do that, and we'll continue to do that.
Sticking with that, are there any positional groups that you feel are especially strong on this team?
Yeah, I really like the group of safeties. I think that's one that jumps out to me from not just playing on defense, but their role on special teams. So that part at corner, I feel stronger than we felt before. So those would be two, Nikki, that jump out to mind to me. And running back, I would say if there was a third one to throw into the group. There's a lot of competition, and it's even though the game happens, it's like good to remind ourselves, man, there's a lot of camp to go for us, evaluations and practices this week into a game, next week a joint, next week a game. So the next 2 weeks as coaches and players, it's a lot of fun, and you really push it to see where you can take it because opportunities are there, but you do have to go take it.
You were understandably upset Friday night with special teams. How do you address that and kind of specifically the coverage stuff? Where were those breakdowns?
Yeah, you're right on. That's our flagship on the special team side, especially the kickoff and the kickoff return. We take great pride in that. And so to see that not go down, first thing, man, like acknowledge it, put it up, show it, show both of them where the errors were. Good news, like this is how we also fix that. But it was important to show that. It's important to say when it's right, but it's important to show this isn't to the standard. This is how we've got to do it, and I'm certain we'll get that fixed.
How have you seen Jaden sort of evolve or change at all as like a leader throughout training camp?
Yeah, I think at the position you want to see like making others around you even improve, and the way you get better. He's so much clearer on the communication, to teammates, whether it be a route or a standard of things. And so I saw it last year with Zach a lot because this part of the route. Now you see it with other players as well. I recently saw it with he and Debo, working a specific route against, like two specific coverages, and they did a good bit of that pregame. So I think that's the step, Not only is he going to handle himself, and we know that, and then how do we make others around him better? I think it's the conversations, the deliberate practice on a specific route or a specific skill. Those are the things that I've noticed.
Pardon if this might be premature, but is there any thought at all to bring in a second kicker to have some competition with Matt? And kind of what have you seen from Matt in camp?
Yeah, totally fair question. It's not where we're at, but we've got a lot of faith and belief in Matt, and there's a lot for us to get better at. And at that position, it's technical, and you got to make sure the issues are really strong and really capable to go. And I'm certain he'll do that.
Dan, obviously you're going to wait for every piece of data you guys have before determining the roster, and Adam obviously is leading that charge. But do you at all during this process say, you know what, I'm sitting on my couch, let me do a 53 the way the outside world does? Do you ever just on your own do that? And
yes.
What's that process like when you're why do you do it in that case?
Yeah, I think it's important, think of it in two ways, Ben, like a 53 and a 70, to say who in your mind might be there. And it's fun to, sometimes I'll snapshot it with my phone and see, where am I at in the spring? Where am I at now? What might have changed? And there's certain ones that you're still okay, this or here, back or forth. And I'd say those are the ones that allows you to really focus in on a few of them. And it may be ones that you're not thinking of. It's an interior lineman. It's ninth there, this spot here. And so it makes you think. It makes you dig in a little harder. So I like doing it. I don't put a lot of stock into it, but I do it because I'd like to compare what's changed. I want to have fresh eyes for when real competition presents itself and people take it. And so I think if you close your mind to it, you're not going to be open to that. So I don't want to put pass judgment on somebody too early. And so I try to allow myself the space to do that. But yeah, I do the same exercise you guys probably do.
That's always fun. With Jalen Lane, we haven't seen much in practice with the punt returns, but we got a little work in the game. What'd you see from him? What'd you like about it?
On the punt returns? Yeah, I've seen specifically from Jalen, I've seen real confidence back there. When you're talking about a returner, oftentimes it's quiet feet, the way that you're approaching the ball. With Tress, it's a difficult punt. He can angle. It's lefty. Lefties are just weird. And it's good. But I've seen him really respond, and we try to put him into the stress to do it. But he's off to a really good start, and as a receiver as well.
Coach, both internally within yourself as well as externally to the team, how do you balance the idea of Friday being preseason game one with the fact that we're building towards the actual regular season in terms of the results?
Yeah, I'm probably not as good at that. I would say there's really a standard that we want, and when we nail it, I'll say it. And you may not be able to control the outcome or the reps, but we can control our play style, and I am certain that will look different.
Coach, kind of based on that, this team, as well as yourself, hangs their hat on competition. So aside from maybe some of the penalties and the mental mistakes that took place on Friday, how do you feel about the way the team competed? And if it wasn't up to that standard, then how do you address that now?
Yeah, we have a process. So we like to, after the game, discuss it all. We call it Tell the Truth Monday. And it's a time not to place blame, but to show the examples of what went right, what didn't, what needs addressing, how do we work on that. And then lastly, and probably most important, what's the action you're going to put behind it? To say if this happened or this technique or this false start or this penalty, acknowledging it is one thing. But then now here's the individual plan to say this can't repeat the mistake. And that's process that I like to put together with them. And knowing, hey, this is style, identity. We have to have that part right first above all. Penalties and, field position and, not getting enough takeaways, being minus, those are all things that contribute, to why we didn't win. But above all else, I want to make sure our play style is right. The running, the hitting, the physicality, that's above everything.
Similar to the question earlier about Jaden, second year from Mike Sainer still. How have you seen him grow as a leader, and then obviously his game on the field as well?
Yeah, both ways. Off the field, he's ready to take that step. We're fortunate here when you look around. He's got some excellent, teammates to discuss into that space, whether that's Wagner, Luvu, Vaughn Miller, a Revo. And now seeing that emerge in the secondary with him and with others, he's early doing the extra, so he's, as a leader, like, you better walk the walk. If you say we need to do this and you're not doing that, well, guess what? You ain't a leader. You have to match it. There can be no gap in what you say and what you do, and I think that's important, that Mike, he definitely understands that. There's no gap. So I've been pleased to see that. We're playing them both inside and out. The ball skills are some of the things that make Mike unique. He's got instincts, and it was good for us to work. We played a lot of man-to-man on the day of the practice, good matchups, different players. So I love that he was talking to the McCourties and asking about film and things to go. Like, that's pretty much who he is in terms of, like, being curious and wanting to get better. Like, he absolutely lives it.
Hi, Coach. In looking at the defense, the run defense, how did you think that they did in terms of gap stopping and all of that?
Yeah, I won't lump sum it because there were some that I really liked. There was a fit between like Jacob Martin, Noah, and Percy. It was just right. And then there were some others that weren't. So I won't blanket say, this part done well or not. So there were some things, like I said, in there that I was like, okay, that's what I'm looking for. And then, like I said, on some others to say, not to the standard of how we want to do it. It's important to go through all of those because then you have something to assess, too, to say, okay, did we get better into that spot going into the next week and the next practices? So I'm glad that we got this experience. I don't like at all the results of it. Every coach wants it to go just right. And like most things, you're upset at the moment, and then you go back, and then I found out this is what I liked, this is what I didn't, this is how we're going to go get it corrected. And it's almost customized, Donna, to an individual player or technique. And if we can get that part right, then I would say we're making a big stride. All right, thanks, everybody. Enjoy the military day, and see you tomorrow.